So we are going to look at the distributive property. So I'm going to go over this top part, and it's not going to make a whole lot of sense until I show you a couple of examples. But distributive property of multiplication over addition. Basically what it is saying is that if you multiply a sum by a number, it is the same as multiplying each number in the sum by that number and adding the products. The distributive property of multiplication over subtraction is saying multiplying a difference by a number is the same as multiplying each number in the difference by that number and subtracting the products. So if you think about distributing, if you have seen like on TV where they talk about food distribution, that means they are handing out food to people. I'm sure you've heard about vaccine distribution. That means that they are giving people the vaccine. So whenever we're looking at distribution, that means handing out or giving out. So on here where it talks about the numerical example of the distributive property, basically if I did 3 times 10, it gives me 30. And that is the same thing as doing, if I did 3 times 4, it is 12. Plus 3 times 6 is 18. And if then I do 12 plus 18, it also gives me 30. So what it is basically saying is that multiplying a sum by a number, so 4 plus 6 would be my sum, times 3 gives me 30, is the same as multiplying each number in the sum, so 3 times 4 gives me 12, 3 times 6 gives me 18, and then adding them together gives me 30. The subtracting one is saying if I do 2 times 8 minus 3 is 5, that gives me 10. 2 times 8 is 16, minus 2 times 3 is 6, 16 minus 6 is 10. So whether I add or subtract inside the parentheses first and then multiply by the number on the outside, I'm doing the same thing as by handing out this 2 times the 8 minus the 2 times the 3. It gives me the same thing. If we're looking at it as an algebraic representation, it would be like a times b plus, I'm going to hand out that a to the c, a times c, and that's how you see it algebraically. If I'm looking at the subtracting one, it's a times b minus a times c. So the distributive property can be used to simplify algebraic expressions. Notice that we are not just coming to one specific value in part 3. And I think y'all always think that you have to have just a numerical answer, and sometimes you are simplifying answers and you don't just get one number as your solution. So with distributing, basically what I'm saying is I'm doing 5 times 2x and 5 times y. So 5 times 2x plus 5 times y, and then I still need to simplify that. So 5 times 2 is 10, so I have 10x plus 5 times y, and remember we assume there's like a 1 right here, so it'd be like 5 times 1, so that would give me 5y. So whenever you're doing this, you are basically multiplying whatever that number on the outside of the parentheses, you're multiplying that times the coefficient. So 6 times 3a, so 6 times 3 is 18, so I would have 18a, and then I bring down my subtraction sign. 6 times 2b would be 6 times 2 is 12, so I would have 12b. And on this one, now I have more than 2 things inside my parentheses, so I still hand it out the same. So 10 times 2g, so basically 10 times 2g, plus 10 times h, plus 10 times 1. So again, I assume there's a 1 in front of that h. So 10 times 2 is 20. I bring my g with it. 10 times 1 is 10. I bring the h with it. And then 10 times 1 is just 10. So my simplified, as simple as I can go, my simplified version solution would be this. On this next one, I'm going to have 7 times w, so 7w, minus 7. See, I brought down that minus sign. You have to be careful to bring down the sign that you're working with. 7 times 2x, so 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to bring down the x. And then 7 times 2, I bring down that plus sign. 7 times 2 is 14. That is the most simplified version of that. We will look at distributing and combining the next day. So again, you have practice to do on here. So let me know if you have any questions.